good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations such as this, and giving you my thoughts on things that are happening in the world and the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. This is what I do. I hope you enjoy it. If you're a returning subscriber, all 1025, I think it is, of you today, welcome back. It is an honor and a privilege to serve you in whatever capacity I am serving you in. So welcome. So today I'm entitling this video, I was wrong about climate change. Okay, I'm man enough to admit it. I was wrong. Man-made climate change is real. Okay? It's almost hard to keep a straight face, but you know, I was wrong about climate change. We're going to get into that, okay? So, for a long time now, I've been talking about this whole man-made climate change as a myth, but it isn't. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that today. Now, I'll go through what we've been told as being the truth and the reality of what's going on, and then I'll give you what I think is the reality, okay? So, we've been told that because of internal combustion engines and industrial industry, that we've put we are burning carbon dioxide, and we're putting more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, right, which create into the upper atmosphere, okay, all right, and that creates a greenhouse effect, which means that the sun comes in through our atmosphere, right, and it doesn't, the warmth stays here rather than the sunlight reflecting back off the oceans. It reflects back off the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So, and we get warmer, and then the polar ice caps melt, then the sea levels rise and we all die. That's the plan, and that's going to happen before 2030 apparently. Okay, so that's what we've got. That's man-made climate change in a nutshell, and we know that's true. We know it's real because we've seen the graph, right? The hockey stick graph, you've seen that. That shows the parts per million of, you know, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and the correlating temperature to do with that. Okay? That's climate change. Now, in addition to all that, and this is the bigger problem, so I've been told by people who are very smart, university educated, because, you know, university is the only place you can learn things. Yeah. Well, actually, while we're on the whole learning things at university thing, the people that have gone to university and you come out with a bunch of student debt, like 100,000 worth of student debt, okay? Some professions, that's what you need to do. So, great, go ahead and do that. Now, I don't know, I'm old enough to remember. But I'm sure that there's some youngsters that are going to pass through this channel, or maybe they're going to see this. There was a time before the internet, you know. There was a time before we had mobile telephones, truly. And the only way you could contact somebody is if you had a telephone at home, and you would call them at the telephone at home and you would say, hey, what are you doing? Should we meet up somewhere? Then you'd arrange a meet up, and you know what you'd do? You'd go there and you'd meet up. That's how the world used to work, okay? But now we have the internet, and what the internet was sold as was every piece of information that you require is at your fingertips with your telephone or with the internet or with a computer, right? The internet provides you any piece of information that you require right there at the end of your fingers, right? But yet we're told university is the only place and school is the only place you can learn. So that's why you have to clock up a massive amount of student debt that you can never get rid of, unless you pay it, of course, to further yourself. Because if you don't go to university, you'll never make anything of yourself. Oh, see the colours of the flowers? It's starting, springtime has sprung. So the point I'm trying to get at here is, all the people out there that say, well, I've got a university degree, you know nothing. And when people are saying, do your own research, you know, well, if you haven't been to university, how can you possibly know? But, you know, all this kind of nonsense, okay? Now, I've heard, I went off on that little tangent there because I've heard from university educated people, supposedly smarter than I am. Well, actually, Chris, the problem is not the carbon dioxide, it's the methane. It's the methane that's trapped in the ice. And when we have the methane released into the atmosphere, that's really going to mess everything up. So, I mean, and obviously all the cow farts, you know, because that's going to, you know, it's the cows that are the problem. Except they're not, because, you know, anybody who's done a modicum of research, and anybody who's got half a brain in their head, would actually go and look for some research that shows that you can actually use cows to reduce carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. No! Yes! And methane too. You know, and there's a little something that we need to sort of take into consideration as well. Carbon dioxide is essential for life on this planet. These things here, these trees, you see those things? Yeah, these things here. Strange little creatures, trees, yeah? Strange, because they breathe in carbon dioxide. And they trap that carbon dioxide where? In the tree, in the wood. Strange. So if we were going to plant more trees, wouldn't that trap more carbon dioxide? Yes, but aren't the governments providing all these people that cut down forests legally? Aren't they providing them licenses to do so? So where is the problem coming from? Right, now, let's get back on the subject, okay? That I'm apologising because I said man-made climate change is a myth, right? I said that, and I was wrong. Now, how can I possibly say I was wrong after confidently claiming that I knew that it was a myth? How can I say I was wrong now and that man-made climate change is real? Now, today it's a little bit overcast here. A little bit overcast, not too bad. I'm walking around in a t-shirt, so it's not too bad. So spring has sprung, like I say here in the UK. Spring has sprung, so people want to get away on holidays from the UK, but oh, what? All the flights are cancelled? Geez, that's strange. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that today. It's another day's conversation. Now, normally on a clear day when there's no clouds, you can see planes going overhead and a massive line behind the plane. Now, when I was a kid, that happened as well. There was water vapor would come off the wings and it would stay in the air for a little bit after the plane had gone, and then it would go away. It would just disappear. It doesn't happen anymore. Those lines stay there all day. And sometimes those lines after they've been, it's not water vapor, after they've been sprayed out of the plane, that they then form their own clouds. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, it's called cloud seeding or geoengineering. Google it. Don't believe me. Google it for yourself. Geoengineering. Military's been doing this for a long time, since 50s or 60s. So if they are influencing the weather, right, and I've also spoken about it in China when they had the Olympics there, and they were seeding the clouds so it would rain overnight. So it would be beautiful blue skies during the day. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, that is changing the weather. The weather is climate. So people are changing the weather. So man-made climate change is real. Now, also evidence in, I don't know whether you've been keeping an eye on. I have. I've got friends in Australia who live in these areas who've been sending me pictures and videos and all sorts of things. On the east coast of Australia, just in the newspaper today actually, they had something, they said, a rain bomb. Have you ever heard those two words put together again? Before? A rain bomb is about to hit New South Wales. Rain bomb. Sorry about the wind, folks. I have tried my best to find a place where I can record a video today, so if it's too loud, I do apologise, but a rain bomb is about to hit New South Wales. Now, why is that important? Rain bomb, that's what they called it, rain bomb. I'll probably get demonetized, I'm not monetized anyway, but I'll probably get thrown off for saying the word bomb because of their terrorism. another word I'm not allowed to say. A rain bomb is about to hit New South Wales. Now, why New South Wales? Well, on the border of New South Wales and Queensland, which is the east coast of Australia, there's areas there of people, mass areas there of people who refuse to get the jab, this thing stuck in them. They refuse. It's very much a hippie community, and yeah, a lot of people around there refuse to take part in this medical experiment. So in the past few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, there's been a lot of areas over that side of Australia that have been having severe flooding. When I'm saying severe, I'm talking about houses completely underwater, people standing on the roof waiting to be rescued underwater, kind of thing. That's a lot of rain to fall in a very short space of time. Afternoon, how are we doing? Good. Yeah, wonderful, thank you. Just walking along talking to myself. Have a great day. So, over the past 4 weeks, there's areas that have been completely inundated, totally underwater. Whole towns are gone. Yeah? And now it's coming back again. Now, the period of the time we are in now is we're just swapping over. Australia's just finishing their summer, where it doesn't rain a whole lot in Australian summer. It doesn't. You know, I grew up there. I know it doesn't rain a lot, but climate change, what are they calling it now? Climate change. Yeah, well, it was global warming there for a bit, but you know, climate change. Now, when I talk about people, men, I'll use the word men. I'm assuming people's gender. You know what I mean? People kind. You know, to quote, you know, Justin Castro up in Canada there. People kind. People are influencing the weather. Okay, man-made climate change. Okay, it's true. It's real. You know, can't deny it. There's storm fronts over there. There's 3 or 4 storm fronts, all lining up at the same time. Now, I don't know whether you know this. There's a branch of the American military called DARPA. I can't remember what the letters stand for. D-A-R-P-A, DARPA. It is Department of. It's real sort of real out there kind of technology stuff that DARPA deals with. Okay, it's sort of real cutting edge kind of stuff. DARPA, military, American military. Okay, DARPA is responsible for real cutting edge weapons and those kind of things. Okay, DARPA developed a program called HARP, H-A-R-R-P, H-A-R-R-P, HARP. Okay, now that stands for high altitude. I can't think what the fuck it stands for. Anyway, doesn't matter. Go and look for yourself. HARP, H-A-R-R-P, I think it is. High altitude, something or other. I can't think what the letters stand for. It doesn't matter. Look for yourself. They developed HARP, okay, which is a microwave technology that basically superheats the air in the ionosphere, I believe it is, which creates weather patterns. So basically, if you have a look at your weather report, wherever you watch the weather, and you'll hear them talk about high and low pressure systems. High and low pressure systems is what moves things around. Okay, so when you have a high pressure system, it pushes things around. When you have a low pressure system, it means that air is moving towards that because it's low pressure. High pressure pushes things away. Okay, you got it? So they can create areas of high and low pressure using HARP technology. Now, HARP is was a prelim to what we have moved on from HARP, a long way past HARP now, where we can have ship mounted or truck mounted microwave energies that can influence the weather. Now, there was a video I've seen. There's a guy called Jeremy Clarkson. People in England will know who he is. He does a show with another couple of guys where they talk about cars. Okay, they've got a show on Amazon at the moment. I think Canage or Toise or something. But they're car guys. Okay. Now, Jeremy Clarkson, when he was in America, he went to visit a NASA facility where they had a rocket, a CO2 rocket, an O2 rocket. Sorry, O2 rocket. So basically, it burns oxygen, and when it burns, the exhaust that comes off burning that solid oxygen fuel cell is water. Okay, so Jeremy Clarkson went to film this thing, and they fired up this rocket. A massive amount of steam comes out of this thing, goes up into the air and forms a cloud. Half an hour later, it rains. So whether they meant to or not, NASA has invented a cloud-making machine. Okay, whether it was deliberate or not is irrelevant. That's what they can do. Burn a solid fuel rocket, and it creates a cloud that makes rain. This is how things work in this planet, right? So people influence the weather, the climate on this planet. So man-made climate change is real, but not by the mechanism they tell us. Now, back in the early part of this talk, I spoke about the hockey stick graph. Okay, now I've talked about statistical data manipulation for forever because it's easy to mess with statistics. It's, if you're a statistician, you'll agree that basically what happens with a statistical graph is the outliers in that statistical data set are taken out. You get an average median line that runs through the middle, okay, which is much like what they've done with a hockey stick graph. Now, when you talk about, you have these people that say, oh, in 20 years time the weather will be completely different. They can't tell you what the weather's going to be like tomorrow, but they can accurately predict 20 years ahead. Okay. Afternoon, how are we doing? So we've got to a point now where we are in this world where we're being told that climate change is real. Now, it's all based on this hockey stick graph, and obviously, temperatures across the world are going up. They're not. They're not. We're actually heading into the grand solar minimum. So the sun has a few different cycles that it runs by. It runs by an 11-year sun cycle, and also runs an 11,000-year sun cycle. So now we're nearing the end of the solar cycle, where the sun's power, its intensity, will be going down. So it will actually be getting cooler. And they're talking about a mini ice age, which is, when I was a kid in the 70s, nearly 50 years ago, that was what we were told. We were heading into an ice age, not global warming. That only came around in the 80s and 90s. So, when we're talking about the 11-year sun cycle, it gets cooler some years, and some years it's warmer. Now, when we're talking about what's going into the air, the pollution, I agree. We need to stop that. But how are we looking at stopping it? So we're talking about this Green New Deal, and we're going to carbon net zero and all this kind of nonsense that these politicians keep on doing. Now, we're in a situation right now in the world, all across the world, where we're saying, well, fuel costs are higher because of Russia. Well, everything's because of Russia, obviously. Everything is because of Russia. Oh, yeah, Trump won, Russia. Hillary lost, Russia. Trump had some prostitutes pee on him, Russia. It's all Russia. It's all Russia. Russia's the boogeyman, okay? Now, we're being told that all our fuel costs have gone up because of Russia. How much of our fuel here in the UK comes from Russia? How much of the fuel wherever you are comes from Russia? If you're in Australia, why is your fuel price going up? You get zero fuel from Russia. Who sets the fuel price? Oh, wait. It's a group called OPEC, the oil producing nations of the world. OPEC. They decide what the fuel price is going to be. So why is the fuel price up? Why are our energy costs going up? It's got nothing to do with Russia. It's got everything to do with the financial system and inflation. But we're not talking about inflation today. We're talking about climate change. But they're talking about having everyone get rid of their fuel vehicles and swapping over to electric. Now, as we've seen in places like California, where they've gone to solar and wind energy, but they've had rolling blackouts in California. Rolling blackouts where you can't have electricity even in the summertime. So we're talking about all these politicians were like, well, you know, now we're just going to transition. Transition to what exactly? To what? Do we have enough infrastructure now that we could provide electricity and heating for everybody without oil, without gas? No, of course not. And that's not going to be a realistic target for at least 20 or 30 years. At least. I can't afford to buy a brand new electric car, and I guarantee you 99.9% of the people on the planet can't either. But that's what they want. So, when we're talking about these kind of issues where we're relying on data that has been manipulated, to put it mildly, the data sets are incomplete. And if you have an incomplete data set, how can you possibly have a knowledge base? Afternoon, how are we doing? How can you base a knowledge base on an incomplete data set? You can't. Now, when we're talking about data sets as well, the hockey stick model, as I've spoken about before, they conveniently left out data that went against the model, which is like the medieval warm period, where there was a lot less people on the planet, a lot less people on the planet, and the CO2 was much higher. How do we know that? Oh, Chris, you're just making things up now. How can you possibly know that the temperature was warmer and there was more carbon dioxide, less carbon dioxide, warmer temperatures, right, in the medieval warm period with less people and no industrialization? Okay, how could I know that? Because in Antarctica, which we're going to be doing a talk about very soon, in Antarctica they've been drilling ice core samples there for years. And what the ice core samples show people is, as you dig down through the ice, each year another layer of ice gets added onto the ice that's there, 1.5 kilometres thick, over the landmass at Antarctica. They drill down through the ice and they sample the ice, and then they see what was in the air. So if there was ash in the air from a volcano, or if there's more carbon dioxide or more methane or whatever it was. So they've got all these ice core samples from thousands of years back. And during this medieval period, temperatures were much warmer. And there's been periods in the past where there was more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and the temperatures were lower, and vice versa. So we're basing all this nonsense that we're living through on falsified data. It's fraud. Fraud, pure and simple. So, and like I say, we've been manipulating the weather for a long time. It's not, you know, obviously we don't do that, but so what does it all mean? You know, at the end of the day, here's me talking about influencing the weather, you know, fraud based on, you know, the fraud in climate science, all this nonsense I'm talking about. What does it all mean? And, you know, to you, what does it mean? Because it's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to live it. So, yeah, what do we do? What do we do with this knowledge? I'm talking to myself, it's okay. No, it's fine. I just walk along talking to myself, that's what I do. Yeah, no, it's not a problem at all. Hey, puppy, hello.
Come on, you.
Have a great afternoon.
And you.
So, now that we have this information, what do we do with it? I mean, really, it's all well and good to think, okay, we've been told lies, we've been, you know, living in a dream world, Neo. But what does it mean? What is it, you know, what is it at the ultimately, what is it all about? Ultimately, the people running the show, the politicians who grant licenses for everything, okay, politicians are not running the show. Okay, I've spoken about it before. It is corporations who tell politicians what their policy should be. And the corporations want to make profit. So they tell the politicians, you need to let us do this, cut down forests, or, you know, dump garbage into the ocean or into the air, you know, poison our planet. And the politicians say, well, you know, it's going to cost you some money to put in my back pocket. And that's what they do. It's all about bribery, scandal, fraud. It's all based on fraud. And these politicians, who are public servants, are multi-millionaires. Don't you think that's odd? I think it's odd. So, everything we're told is a lie. Everything is a lie. It's based on fraud, it's based on incomplete data sets and fraudulent data sets made up by people who are using science, science, to defraud us all. Why? Because it is about control. If you can't travel, like we can't travel here in the UK today because, well, everyone's sick, it is about control. Keeping you where you are, making sure you have no money, increasing your taxes to pay for climate change, of course. It is all about taking the money out of your pocket, putting it into theirs, putting it into the corporations' pockets, and them getting kickbacks for speaking events. You know, these politicians who leave politics, then they go and do a talk at a bank for £500,000 or $500,000. Anyone think that's strange? Or they get a book deal like Obama, $60 million. For what? For what? Or Michelle Obama becoming Michelle Obama. Becoming Michelle Obama. Becoming. Because his name was Michael. It still is. He still has a penis. It's a man. Off the point again. Sorry. We are getting off the point. But now we know all this. What do? Reject it. Reject it. It is nonsense. It is nonsense, piled on nonsense, piled on nonsense, all about taking away your rights to be able to move around freely, to be able to live your life. And in the process of all this that's been going on, politicians have allowed corporations to buy technologies that would free us from the bonds of using oil and gas, and buying the technology from inventors and putting it away so that they can maintain their monopoly on oil to run the planet. True story. But don't buy into it. Don't listen to it. It is nonsense. Well, actually, I'll tell you what to do. Don't believe a word that I say. I don't want you to believe what I say. I want you to go and do your own research. Do your own research, because as soon as you start saying, well, I believe what that guy says and that's going to be my truth from now on, you're basing your opinion on someone else's opinion. It's a third-party opinion. Think for yourself. You don't take my word for it. Don't take a scientist's word for it. Don't take any word for it. Think for yourself. Do your own research and think for yourself and decide how you want to live. Because they're going to try and take away everything from you in the name of climate change. Lockdowns, climate change. No more travel, climate change. Higher taxes, climate change. You know, it is a scam. It is fraud. And then when you start thinking, or you start talking about, oh, carbon offsets. Yeah, we have a carbon offset company. Who owns the carbon offsets companies? Who owns them? It's all a scam. It's all about corporatism. It's all about robbing you blind, keeping you stupid. So I was wrong about climate change. Man-made climate change. Of course it's real. We've been manipulating the weather forever. All the rest, bullshit. Now, that's the talk for the day. As I say, I'm super busy at the moment. I'm planting, getting my garden ready for planting more seeds, getting ready to grow some crops for this year's, you know, what I do every year. And it's crazy, and I'm working crazy hours as well. I've got young kids, so please, I put out content when I can. You know, bear with me. It is what it is. You know, and I have to do the research to be able to produce the content as well. So bear with me. If it's not enough for you, then I understand, but this is how it is. You know, this isn't my job. I don't get paid for this. I'm not monetizing this. I'm not interested in monetizing. I bring this information for you. Why not? You know, I share what I find. And if it's interesting to you, then great. Like it, subscribe, do whatever you think is good for you. Now, that's enough for today. Get out of here, go and enjoy the world. Look, I mean, this beautiful place that we live. It really is. And most people don't appreciate it, don't get out and enjoy it. They're so locked up and sitting in front of the TV all day, they're missing out on the beauty of the planet that we live in. So go out there and enjoy it. Go out and do good, be good, and you can change the world with the way you think, talk, act, and interact with people. So do that. Let's make the world a better place. And don't listen to the nonsense. All right, have a wonderful day. Look after yourself, look after each other. Love you all. Oh, and one more thing before we go. The two people that won the crypto, please get in touch with me. I want to give this to you so we can get on, and I've got lots of other things to do, so please get in touch. And for everyone else, thanks very much for being here. Love you lots. I look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care. Ciao for now.